Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Femi Aribisala, and we are here at the Clout Studio. I'm here with Obinna Agwu, and we're going to be talking about how to make a classic album in this streaming era. A little bit about myself. I work for Clout. I'm in charge of business development, so anything to do with partnerships, artist management, concept development, all that kind of stuff. And I also run a company called Don't Drop the Mic. We've been running for about 5 years. I'm a partner in the company with Aki and Bidi. Shout out to you guys. And yeah, essentially what we're known for is an urban variety show. So we do musical improvisation. That's what we're known for mostly, which is essentially getting topics from an audience, creating musicals on the spot, classic musicals that we like to think they are at least. And yeah, so that's a little bit of insight on what I do. I'll hand over to Obiana to tell you a bit about what he does.
um, I'm not related to Julius actually. First of all, yeah, I'm a talent manager, A&R, podcaster, um, music business consultant, and just an all-round music guy, passionate about the business and everything about the business of music and music itself. So yeah, that's me.
Awesome. And let me just point out, right, there is no host for this show, right? We're actually just having a general conversation. And the topic is essentially how to make a classic album in the streaming era, the Nigerian international music industry, essentially. So I guess we should kick off with some kind of definition. What is a classic album? How would you classify a classic album?
Hmm. Femi, the problem is that I do not have a definition, and that is because I think um, um, that whole idea of a classic album is very subjective. You know, like it's easier when you say a number one record on the Billboard or on the charts. You can go there and see that. But with a classic album, you cannot really measure it. And what you consider a classic is pretty much a regular body of work to somebody else. So it's not binding. There's not one metric or one way to gauge the whole thing for it to make sense across
I
board.
don't know. I don't know. I think I
You know
disagree. I disagree a little
why?
bit, because essentially I think a classic album, is something that has an impact on the culture, right? Something that, generates a lot of attention,
Hmm.
where, it stands the test of time,
Yeah.
essentially. So you have a generation that loves the album, another generation comes along and they have the same interest in the album as well because it's good music, regardless of the genre, regardless of the country, regardless of the time. So that I think is what essentially makes an album classic.
Yeah, but I'm saying, I mean, if you say Lauryn Hill's, the what was that album? The
Miseducation of, yeah, yeah.
Miseducation
So
of Lauryn Hill is a classic. Of course, a lot of people love that body of work and it resonates with plenty people. But there are still those people who feel like, I've heard better. So to that person, it's not a classic, and he's right.
well, I
You
mean,
know.
majority must count for something, right? So if one person thinks an album is a classic, you can't. I mean, one person might wake up and say one random artist has a classic album. If no one knows it, no one else can judge it or whatever. Is it really a classic? So I think the number of people that are interested in it is part of what determines it to be a classic. We might argue about, okay, what number
Yeah.
is what determines it to be a classic, right? But I think once there's a general sort of consensus, the majority,
Mm.
talking about thousands of people, and the
Yeah.
majority of them consider it to be a classic, I think there's an argument that it might be on some
It
level or the
might
other.
be okay. So how do you know a project is a classic? Like how many copies does it have to sell? What does it need to really do for it to be that? Because on that level, trust me, it's a lot of projects that must have attained that level, made that level of create that level of a splash, or sold that much. But today they are not really revered or at that level. So
Okay.
yeah, so I'm just saying we can keep going back and forth with this whole classic thing,
Mhm.
but you sure do have a point, because in the another way to look at it is this project came out, it moved culture it shifted the sound. The soundscape felt it after it dropped. It's like everybody started to copy that. You go to your friend's car, it's being played on the radio, it's there. You go to the market, it's hitting you on the TV, it's there. So yeah,
Okay, well,
th- th-
just sorry to cut you, but I want to separate a hit song or a hit album
yeah,
from a classic album,
yeah.
right? So, in this year, for example, there might be an album that's raining right now,
Mm-hmm.
it's hot on the streets, but
Yeah,
then in 6 months or in 1 year's time, you hear nothing about it.
yeah,
So it's about really the continuity of the album. That's what I think is essentially what makes it classic. So going back to my earlier point in
yeah,
terms of generation to generation, it doesn't matter how many years have passed. People are still talking about the album. They still acknowledge that this is a great album. It might not be what's raining right now,
mm-hmm.
but they still acknowledge it's a great album. Like, Mushin to Mohits for me is a classic Nigerian album. There are very few albums I feel, reach that sort of level from a Nigerian, sort of context. Track to track, everything was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I
True.
remember the period when it came out, it was being played in eateries everywhere. You go into a Sweet Sensation or a Tantalizers, they're bumping Mushi to Mo
Yeah,
hits, all that kind of stuff.
yeah,
So it was something that identified with the time, and I can see a lot of people took their example and evolved from that. He sort of led the way. I mean, Wande Cole in particular,
mm-hmm.
and the whole Dibanj crew, etc.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
led the way for, it's possible for Nigerian music to go global. Prior to that, even in Nigerian radio, we were all playing, you know, foreign music
mm-hmm.
and all that
Mm-hmm.
kind of
Yeah,
stuff. I think maybe actually we should give Two Face a bit of credit. When he dropped that, what's the name of the album? The one with Ole and all those.
yeah.
That for me was like the beginning of real Niger
Niger
music that you
music.
could recognize as from
Yeah,
here.
yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah. Well, we surely should move past this phase in the conversation. But I'm just saying, as long as it's not definitive, it's not like um, 1 plus 1 is 2. If it's 2, then it's a classic. We can keep going,
True, true.
Yeah, because you can ask somebody and they say, well, I wasn't really into music in the Wandeko era. I don't consider it a classic, or I
Okay,
don't even
fair
know
enough.
so much about music to consider it a classic. But um, did this song hit the charts, or did it do this, or did it do that somewhere where we can go and we see that stuff? So it's not even debatable.
Okay,
You
let's
know,
let's let's
so
go back a little bit,
yeah,
a bit to go forward, right? I like films a lot,
yeah,
right? And I want to use that to make a comparison with music in the sense that there's some films that were not considered popular as far as mainstream goes, but
yeah.
they're also considered classics,
Mm-hmm.
right? And with music, I think on some level it's a similar sort of line, on some way or the other. So it's about the cult following, being in that there is a significant enough segment of people that are constantly talking about this thing, engaging you about this thing, and so you know that there's something that they did right.
Yeah,
So that for me can so maybe we should level it in that there's small classic and big classics. I don't know. I don't know.
yeah,
Maybe not.
yeah.
But
But
let's move on to the
yes.
streaming element.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Yeah,
read recently that streaming, for example, 1,500 streams counts as one album download. So they've changed the whole perspective of how music is counted. So if you're looking
yeah,
at like an album going gold or diamond or platinum,
yeah,
just for record's sake, I think with the America 500,000 sales is gold, 1 million sales is platinum, and then diamond is like 10 million sales or thereabouts. So now the way music is being calculated is completely different from how it used to be.
yeah.
In terms of it blowing or not. So how do you think that has, I guess, shaped the way one considers a music blowing? Because now it's almost as if streaming is not a big deal anymore.
Yeah,
By the time 1,500 streams is counting as one, they're trying to lower, because there's so many streams happening that they're trying to lower, the value of those streams.
yeah.
I don't know.
Well, first of all, I struggled with streaming when it first started. I felt like, man, this thing is good. It sort of democratizes and just opens up the whole game, but also it has cheapened the music. You know, I have somebody who supplies me with a list of new songs every week, and it's overwhelming how many songs are being dropped now.
Every week.
Yeah, so you then realize that why we could even focus enough to listen to songs enough for us to really get into it and say, oh, I love this and this is a classic, is because, it wasn't really a lot of releases. But right now, on a Friday, let's say for instance, you like Kendrick Lamar. Kendrick is dropping on Friday. You're looking forward to it. But on that same Friday, Kiss Daniel is dropping. Some upcoming guy you like is dropping. This person is dropping. So you discover that you do not really have as much time as you used to have to soak
To
up a
digest the
project.
music. In
You
fact,
know?
just to buttress your point, now music is moving on in terms of people don't really make albums anymore. It's all about singles.
Yeah.
So they make a bunch of singles and then maybe they, accumulate them together and say this is the album. So it's a completely different market. So I don't know, do you think that there's no longer any room for albums anymore because people are not spending the same amount of time consuming music the same way?
Man, Femi, I think at the end of the day, there is no better way to evaluate how good an artist is than through a body of work. You
Okay.
know, I think it's easy to make one good single, two good singles, but can you can the two songs are not enough for me to really say, you know what, I like this guy. But with an album gives you that platform to just show different sides of you and
Of
talk
yourself.
about a myriad of topics. So I still think, even though this opinion now has now become unpopular because of, but I think albums will always be important, especially for the artist who is looking long term. I believe albums help you to form a stronger bond, form a stronger connection with your listeners. Yeah,
But if you're not looking for the bond,
yeah,
you're looking to make money or you're looking to blow.
yeah,
You understand? As most artists, so you meet an artist, where do you see yourself in 5 years? I don't blow. You understand? So there's that sort of perspective,
yeah,
and the blowing sometimes is not connected to albums. It's like you just not try, you're putting out as many songs as you
yeah,
can for one to go
yeah,
viral, and then
yeah.
you're blown.
But the problem with that is you don't want to be stuck in that singles rat race. When you get into that thing, it means you can't really take a chill pill every month, every 2 months. You're thinking about putting out one stuff.
New music.
Yeah, but it's better to just be in that comfortable space where you put out your music, and you know that your fans are there, they love you, they are waiting, and they're going to soak it up and enjoy it for a longer period, and putting out albums also mean that in concerts or in showcases you have a larger pool of songs to
I mean, but
pick
you could
from.
argue if you have 10 singles, then I mean, you go to a show, you're doing your ten
Yeah.
your 10 popular
Y-
singles.
y-
Forget about whether you
yes,
have an
yeah,
album.
but in my experience, I have discovered that the guy who puts out music like that is easier to forget, because all we need to not remember you is for you to put out like two or three duds, and that's it.
Mm, mm.
That's it.
But I mean, if you go with the formula that you are putting hit singles, then surely wouldn't you say that's a sustainable formula, given that the industry right now is like on demand? I don't want to wait 6 months for your album. I want to hear what's next week. I'm bored of the last track I heard. So how do you keep up if you're not satisfying the demand? Because the hunger for material is more than it used to be.
That is what I'm saying. You do not want to get stuck in that rat race of the singles. It's going to burn you out. So it's better for you to just take your time, create your album or your project, and just put it out there. Spend enough time, milking it, performing it, marketing it, and all that stuff. But more importantly, I believe when you are that type of artist, you have more people who write for you. I really think it takes a body of work to form that type of bond and community. And these guys are the people who are going to continue to support you. But with a single, it's easy to just fall off the train of supporting this guy, because
Mm.
I mean, it
But they could argue that you do
yeah,
a body of work and you have more chance of being scrutinized or criticized based on what you've done, as opposed to being criticized for one song. You have 10 songs, maybe you have two good songs in there, and people might just look at 2 over 10. You understand? As far as I'm concerned, the album's a flop. You're not great, and you didn't give the chance for your two potentially big singles to really live out there. You know.
well, um, even this single guy, at some point, I mean, take for example what is happening to techno now. Techno is this guy you're talking about. He is big. He has made money. He has done everything, but something is missing. And I feel like he's in a really delicate place right now. And his project is pretty much make or break, you know.
Why do you say that though?
I say that because this guy is not a new act anymore, and it has taken him all these times to put out an album. And this album he's about to put out now, Pana is not going to be on it. Um, 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 uh, Where Your Mama Dey, all those hits are not going to be on it because these are old songs,
Mm.
you know. But you also see that because he has delayed in delivering that product, well, I, I,
But doesn't
I
that
don't feel like the
doesn't that increase
anticipation.
it doesn't increase anticipation?
I do
Like,
not.
this guy is going to drop something soon. He hasn't yet. Now there's a rumor, oh, he's coming out to.
In my experience, the longer it takes, the lesser the anticipation.
Is that for Nigeria or everywhere? Because
Um,
I mean, if you look at
well,
the
I
other artists abroad,
I
they
operate in
spend
the
6 months,
Nigerian
a
space,
year
and
before they
I've
make
seen
an
this thing
album.
happen. Like Genie had Ego, he had I Know the Shame for You, he had a couple of hits, and the album didn't come out until like 4 5 years after. It didn't create a splash. It
Okay,
just
maybe
took
four or
so
five
much time.
years is a bit long.
Waje's debut took so long. Eva Alodia also, in fact, for Eva, it got to a point where the fans were like, you know what, keep it. Like, yo, where's this album? And we're just waiting, 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 waiting. Where is it? And then when you finally say, oh, this is it, they're like, ah, man, So
So
the
so
long,
are you saying that in order to be successful in
yeah,
this era, you have to put out the songs or you put out your album when people want it or when they're expecting it? Can you not create your own timeline and still be successful?
of course, there will be exceptional cases, but it is better for you to just keep putting out your albums when they're ready. And when they're ready doesn't mean you should take 5, 10 years. And I really think that is the way to play the long game because um, the ultimate aim is to do this thing for a very long time, not to win for 1 year and then fall into obscurity. So you want to set yourself up, nicely. One example that I want to share is Brimo. Brimo might not be the top dog or the number one guy, but just off of his projects and just gathering his people with his show organized chaos and all this stuff, he has you know now raised the following. So when the hot guy puts out a single and he does all these things and he goes back to being unknown, Brimo is just there. He's maintaining because his bodies of works are there. They'll always be there. And then he has this followership, a team of paying fans who really believe in what he has. So he is not in the singles rat race.
Mm.
So that puts you in a place of rest where you can even say, you know what, let us chill for some time and just go on holiday. But if you're playing the rat race, the singles game, you cannot sleep. You
You have to
cannot
put
sleep.
something out
And that's not
consistently.
that's not sustainable. You're going to burn out eventually.
Mm, mm.
Yeah.
It's a tough one. So I mean, to be successful, like how many albums would you suggest an artist puts out in a year?
Albums in a year. Come
Yes.
on, come on, come on. No, no, no.
Give me a rough
No,
a rough a rough
no,
estimate.
no, 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 no.
One
No,
album, two albums.
in-
Okay, 5 albums. Is
no,
that too much?
no, no, no. It doesn't have to be that. You don't even need to put out albums yearly,
Okay,
because great albums or great products take great
take
time.
time.
So from the conceptualization to just making sure that you have really talented people on board working with you, and then your rollout and your marketing. And of course, when you put it out there, you need to give it space so you can milk it with your tours and all this other stuff and make a lot of videos for them. So ideally this cycle should take you 2 3 years. So surely it is not advisable to put out albums every year. In fact, for unless you're part of the 5% who are really exceptionally gifted, I don't think it's possible to put out great albums every year.
Every year.
I don't think so.
Okay, this is a note to all the artists out there that are putting out albums every year. You heard it here from Obinna. Chill. Choose small. Choose small. Okay, so relating to
Yeah,
still on this whole album issue
yeah,
and how to make an album a success.
yeah,
What are the ingredients do you think of a successful album? I like the elements you mentioned, or a successful artist even.
yeah.
I like the ingredients you mentioned about Brimo and the fact that he has his own following.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, in order for an artist to be successful, it goes beyond being a flash in the pan. You need to have guys that they are literally on edge, waiting for the next move that you're going to make.
Adekunle
That's
Gold
that's when you
is in
know
that
that you're
space
really
right
you're really
now.
there.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
why would you say that? He
Man,
seems to have done a lot of rebranding. I actually like him a lot. He's changed his sound. He's
he
changed his
has,
hairstyle. He's
he
gotten
has.
married. He's
Yeah,
just doing
yeah.
his thing.
And man, what he does with his email marketing and his whole fan mail thing, man, on social media you have people actually saying, "Yo, did you read Adekunle's last letter?" I'm on there, so I see everything, and it's so beautiful how he does it because that email marketing gives you an opportunity to really connect with people. The pundits say it's still the most important platform in the sense that if you have 50 million followers on IG, IG isn't yours. IG might
Pack
not
up tomorrow. Yeah,
exactly,
yeah.
um,
Unthinkable, but it can happen.
exactly. Some people were big on MySpace.
Yeah.
So if you had 10
High
billion
five.
followers on
All those.
MySpace,
Yeah.
high five, it's nothing. So, but really at the end of the day, what is really important is the database that you own. So away from Twitter and Snapchat and all these
Your own
things,
website.
your own website,
Yes,
your
you've gotten
own,
your numbers, your
yeah, your
emails, your
mailing list, your
newsletters,
exactly.
etc.
That is your own thing. And these are people who really care about you because for somebody to be on your mailing list, it means, oh, I like what this guy does. I want to hear from him. So they say, put me in there. So it's very important. So Adekunle Gold has done amazing things with that. So he has taken his time to really to really start his community. And when you do that, you have set the ground ready for whatever you're putting out. Because you already know that you have people who are there waiting for your project.
Still on Adekule Good, I think it was on the listening sessions, your podcast. I heard a conversation with you and Bizzle
Yeah,
about his campaign where he had like a bus going around doing interviews with
yeah,
people and all
yeah.
of that. You see, these kind of innovative new ideas are the kind of stuff that connects you more with people.
Yes,
Because I think on a certain level, people are a little bit fed up of the typical interviews,
true, true.
performances, etc. They want to see the artist in an uncomfortable space, doing something different from what they're known for,
Absolutely.
experimenting, making a fool
Absolutely.
of themselves, embarrassing themselves,
Yes.
being human.
Yes.
They want to see and
Yes.
connect with those
Yeah.
those aspects.
Back to the whole album thing. The album is the big event. So with an album, it gives you that opportunity to really go all out on your marketing and just come up with brilliant ideas and just say, okay, we're going to do something crazy. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. It really affords you that opportunity to go all out and do cool stuff. Singles, not really.
Mm-hmm.
But even if you say you wanted to do that, are you going to keep doing that stuff for every single? So that is why it makes sense for an album. So yeah, this is Afro pop. We're going to give you an experience. And the last time he did something beautiful too with his rollout. Where people had to go to a certain place and the ambience and everything. You get into a booth and you listen to the music and so he has been innovative all the way. So I fear that if you're caught up in the singles rat race, you're not going to have enough time to just sit back and just try to work on beautiful innovative ideas that help to push your brand and indeed your music forward.
Definitely, all these things are very much needed.
Yeah,
So still, like we're talking about making a classic
yeah, yeah,
album,
yeah.
right? So if your album is successful, is that dependent on the amount of money that you make from the album? Can you have a classic album and make no money?
It brings us back to the subjectiveness
Of what is a classic?
of what is a classic.
Okay, give me an example of a classic album. Or are there no classic albums from your own
No, no,
subjective
no, no. I'm just
standpoint?
saying the concept of the classic album is just one of those things that personally I have unlearned. Over time. I used to say that a lot, but I've since discovered that, man, when I meet a coconut head who is really ready to argue with me, man, we are going to go at it, because there's no way to
There's no
judge.
yardstick.
Yeah, yeah, as opposed to saying this couch is red and the person says no, it's black. We'll call this guy and say, yo, look at this couch. What is it? And he'll look at it and say, yo,
You can't do the same with
it,
an album. Come
it's
and listen to
red.
this album. What do you think? And you do the same with X amount of people,
What
and
if
then
you're
at the
asking
end,
somebody who doesn't even have an appreciation for that kind of music? So at the
fair
end of
point.
the day, it's like, I don't know. So it still puts you in that place where, man,
So there
we
are no
can just skip.
classics.
There are beautiful albums.
Okay,
There
but
are
there are no
amazing
classics.
albums. I just don't say classic anymore. Just like I do not say bad music or good music.
What? There's no bad music.
I
Come
have
on.
I
Come
no
on. Wait, we have to hold on at this point.
yeah.
There's no bad music.
Femi, if
Surely you've heard bad music. Because I
yeah,
have.
yeah, but Femi, some of those bad songs,
Hmm.
they made money.
So what? It's still
So,
bad music.
but if
See, that's
somebody
what we're
pays
asking.
money for it,
Uh huh.
it means they love it.
Not
It means
necessarily.
to them it's not bad music.
I can buy a chair, but that doesn't mean it's a good chair.
No, you
The
wouldn't buy a bad
definition, no,
chair.
the definition of the chair is if I sit on. I mean, I can buy what I think is a good chair and sit
Mm,
on it, and then in 1 week the chair breaks or whatever.
yeah.
Maybe relating to an album, I listen to one track, I'm like, mad album. Then I sit down and listen to the whole album, like it's not that great. I mean, at some point there must be an original answer.
Even that is subjective because some other guy who doesn't have your level of appreciation is going to listen to it and be like, yo, I like this.
Wow.
So at
At
this
this,
point, I'm just like, man, music I like and music I do not like. So yeah.
so there's no bad music. All music is good. You just might no. I don't like the one that me I like.
That is the position where
Come
I'm
on,
at now.
come on.
No, so
I cannot accept that.
I don't say bad music anymore because a lot of the songs that I consider bad music, they're even hits. I hear them everywhere.
Okay.
That is appeal.
Okay, so now,
People play what they
so
like.
hold on. So there's some songs that you consider bad music. I
No,
won't ask you
songs
to
I don't
label. I
like.
won't ask you to label the songs or label the person.
Songs I don't like.
Songs you don't like.
Yeah.
What was it that you didn't like? Was it the
Um,
lyrics?
I like effort. I like effort in
Okay.
music. So a lot of times I do not get that with Nigerian songs. So I like to hear effort in the singing, effort in the whole conceptualization, effort in the writing, not champagne rosé moe, man. I need
But
some more
I mean,
thoughts in
still
there.
back on the topic. I mean, this is about how to make a successful album in
Yeah.
this era,
Yeah.
right? And there is actually a formula rather, for successful albums.
Yeah.
You understand? There's a certain amount of words. There's a way the chorus has to be repetitive,
Yeah.
a certain way, something that you hear the first time. It's like you've known the song all your life.
Yeah.
So there's some people that have studied this formula,
Yeah.
and they literally generate hit after hit simply because they
Yeah.
understand the way the formula works.
Yes.
So in that regard, would one argue that it's easier for people like that to make classics because they know the formula and they have continuous hit singles, they put them together, that
Yeah.
ultimately is a
The
classic.
my, the biggest example for what you just described now is Kanye West. And one word that describes Kanye is innovation. Um, Maybe it's not something he does consciously, but Kanye knows how to create products. So I think in this era, especially how the whole music making process has now been broken down and simplified, and everybody is making music, so there are just too many songs out there.
Mm.
It is important for you to start to look at your music as a product. So um, you are you first of all, because it's a product, you want to get the best hands. So um a Kanye is going to bring his Mike Dean and Kill Hoffa and all these people and Travis and sometimes he ends up sending it to Rick Rubin and all these things. And there are times when one song is tweaked over and over and over and over again. I used to represent MI back in the day. MI is another person who
I think he has a classic album. His first MI
Talk
album.
about it.
Yeah, that was
He
for me.
surely
That was a Nigerian
he
classic. No
surely
argument.
knows he surely knows a thing about putting projects together.
Mm.
So personally, I learned a lot just watching him do his thing. And he's pretty much on that whole Kanye level, because a lot of the songs you hear are like the 10th or the 20th reiteration of what he initially was. They
Mm.
listen again and say, oh man, this doesn't roll nicely on the tongue. We need to make it roll nicer.
More better.
Roll better. We need to change this. We need to change that. Okay, it'll be nice to get some nice vocals going
You
in
see, but
here.
that's even
Effort.
slightly different in terms of the hit making formula. Like the example of Kanye, the MI, like with Kanye, for example,
Yeah.
he reinvented what was popular, right? So there was a way hip hop was viewed. He came with his preppy style, mixed in, electronic music, blah blah blah, and he revolutionized the sound. So that's even him taking it to another level. And I think to some degree that's why people argue that Kanye has quite a number of classic albums because his album can be identified as the first of this maybe genre of some argument because there are people that identify like two or three different genres to Kanye's music directly. And with someone like Mi, for example, he's
Yeah.
someone that experiments a lot. I've also worked with him in the past. He has albums that he's not released,
Mm-hmm.
you understand, or albums that he does like a limited release. No one really knows about. You have a small section of people that come through, hear it, etc.,
Yeah.
digest it, and then he goes back to his own behind the scenes,
Mm-hmm.
sort of
Mm-hmm.
movements.
Yeah.
But ultimately, at the end of the day, I think it's about maybe how long you are in the game, and the longer you are in the game, the more chances you have of making a classic, the more chances you are, the less afraid you are of experimenting. Okay, you've already done the hits, people already know you for this, you're maybe even bored with that sound, you want to try something different, and that new different thing you try then becomes a classic. Sometimes I guess it works the other way. You've done your first album is mad, and then everything just
Just dips from
sort of
there.
goes
Yeah. Yeah.
downhill, downhill.
Yeah. True.
One of the first albums that when I was younger I identified as a classic was the Marshall Mathers LP. I don't know if you're an
Mm-hmm.
Eminem fan.
Yeah. 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 I like him.
In fact, Eminem is probably one of my favorite artists. And as a child, I got into a lot of trouble listening to Eminem. In fact, I remember the first time I'd borrowed like the CD from a friend of mine in school. Came home, put it in the CD player, and the opening. I don't know if you've heard the Marshall Mathers, but the opening track is like Slim Shady does not give a fuck what you think. And I'm sitting next to my mom while I'm listening to this album. Like I hadn't heard it, just put it in. We're having dinner, sitting at the table, just eating, and Slim Shady does not give a fuck what you think. My mom just, if you don't like it, you can suck his fucking cock. Little did you know, upon purchasing this album, you have just kissed his ass. Slim Shady is fed up with your shit and he's going to kill you. And my mom nearly killed me that day simply because of the nature of the sound. But anyway,
Yeah.
back to the point. That was an amazing album.
Mm-hmm.
Back to back, track to track. Even till now, people are still talking about the fact that he can probably never top what he did in
Yeah.
that album.
Yeah.
So back to being successful. Does it hinder your chances of success if you've made a really great album and you can't top it?
Well,
Does that make you does that decrease your brand, or will you become like a Nas and say, yeah, you're dope, but maybe you should have retired after that? For example, well, I don't know.
well, for you to have a classic album, like in Nigeria, we have a lot of big people who have big singles and made a name for themselves and all that, but don't really have what you you call a classic album. Wizkid has that, you know.
Yes, for me,
Yeah,
Wizkid's first album, one with Sam Clef,
yeah,
Untouchable.
yeah. But at some point, Ice Prince was the biggest rapper in Africa, but he doesn't have that. We do not have that one Ice Prince project that you say, you know. So, man, I feel like it helps. It gives you longevity. It gives you room to just chill and just take your time and just create. And even the fans are willing to allow you. Sort of like what is going on with One Day Call right now. You know, whatever you think about Wandiko, as soon as Motion to More Hits pops in, you're like,
Forget it. Classic. You see, I've gotten there. I've gotten one classic that you have agreed. Ha!
no,
Finally, finally. So
the
you agree that that's a classic?
that sound one day surely moved culture with that album because a
Hold on. You
lot
have
of
gone to
people,
move culture.
yeah,
Is that one a classic?
it's a beautiful album.
I
It's a beautiful
want
album.
you to confess before
It's a
the show
beautiful
ends
album.
that
You
that's a
know,
classic.
because it still speaks to the subjectiveness of this thing. Like when an artist creates a classic album, isn't that supposed to mean that they can do it 10 times?
Not necessarily. I don't think so. There's some things that can only be done once. That's part of also what makes it a classic. Amongst your albums, there might be one that emerges as a classic.
Mm-hmm.
Other ones were good or maybe even bad, but there's one that's a classic, and that's because that particular album doesn't matter what generation, doesn't matter what time, it still has an impact. It's still there, making an influence on the culture.
And for some artists, they actually put out beautiful albums that some people think this album is better than this classic or is at par with this classic, but we're never going to celebrate it at that level.
Which is fair enough, because as we say, I mean, at the end of the day, eras change. You understand? So the level of classicness, I guess, on some level can change. So it was much harder to get a song to be popular to the extent with which it is now, where a Nigerian artist can drop a song and in Yankee they're playing it, sort of thing. It's a bit different from then when it sort of was fully absorbed by Yankee. Then somehow it then got to Nigeria and then we're now feeling it. It's different when now you put it out everywhere, everyone is feeling it, and everyone can acknowledge the same things or criticize the same things. So there's a lot more judgments and criticism that can happen in real time now compared to back in the day.
Okay, but a lot of artists do not set out to make a classic. A lot of people didn't know they were making a classic when they were
Really? You
doing
think so?
it. A lot of people.
Okay.
A lot of
I'll
people.
accept that argument for now.
A lot of people. You know?
Well, I would
Yeah.
argue that
Because
if you're good
yeah.
and you do a dope song, this is a dope song. You call your friends, man, God, this song, check out now. This is making sense now. This is not bad. Oh." You know what I mean? There's a feeling you have when something is good. You draw good art or whatever it is. You know when it's good, unless you're lying to yourself or whatever. So I think there's some people that have made albums and have known that when this thing drops, that's it.
And then it drops and
Some things
crickets.
can lower expectations
Crickets.
for whatever reason.
Crickets. You know? So that's what we're saying. But does it change the fact that that is a beautiful body of work? No.
Okay.
No. So, but is it going to be celebrated at that level? Unfortunately, no.
Okay, so if you're an artist now and you're sort of listening to this show,
Yeah.
right? What advice would you give for an independent upcoming artist or whatever that is picturing themselves making a classic album? What would they need to do in order to do that?
What I've noticed about classic albums are that they mirror 100% the unique perspective of the artist because that is what really um, um, that is what makes you special, and that
Mm,
is what is going to make the product different. Because your story is your story. I do not have your story. I do not have your upbringing. I do not see life the way you see
real.
life, and so as much as possible, dig in deep. As the more you can put your life into your music and your perspective and just the way you perceive it, I think classics are usually made from a vulnerable, honest place.
Hmm. A
I think so.
vulnerable, honest place.
I think so.
Oh, damn bitches and hoes.
For
That's
some
that's not
people,
sounding very
for some people, that is their reality. If they grew up,
fair enough.
yeah, around trap houses, and that is your story. That is your story.
Do you think enough people are telling their story, or are a lot of people telling a story that they think people want to hear?
I do
Because
not.
there is a trend right
Yeah.
now, which is being seen as humble is like a big deal now. You understand? I'm rich
Yeah.
and famous, but I'm a humble guy. You understand? So that's now like a big thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think about that?
Man, I think when you're not doing you, you are you are cheating yourself. You're cheating yourself. That is why Kanye is like, look, I didn't sell drugs. I'm not a gangbanger, but I'm not particularly a humble guy. I know I'm a genius and I'm cocky about it. You know, you guys wear this type of stuff, but I want to wear pink polos. I want to, dress a certain way. That is the type of fashion I like. You know, I use certain words in my music because my mom was an English teacher and I actually speak amazing English and I know beautiful words. And using all that stuff, using that level of communication in my music is being me because that is the type of upbringing that I got. So man, if you're not being, everybody doesn't have to be, um, 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 oh,
But to what extent does your music have to be relatable in order for it to become a classic? So like in Nigeria, a lot of music is aspirational
yeah.
in the sense that a lot of artists are not living these lives that they claim to be living.
Mm,
Yeah, money here and there and everything.
mm,
It's all about keeping up
yeah.
appearances, at the end of the day. So I don't know. Is it important to keep up this illusion in order to be successful?
Man, some people do it and they do it well, but I believe it's not sustainable. And at the end of the day, we're all human beings. So I do not need to have experienced what you are singing or rapping about for it to make sense. So um, my friend might have gone through that, or my brother, or my father, or my uncle. But in just telling your story, just know that somebody out there is going to connect with it
But is
because
it, is
we're
it okay to
human
make up a
beings.
story? I mean, if you're a creative, there's creative license. A lot of people that make films, they've never experienced what they're showcasing in the films. Is it okay to lie about your life because you know that this thing will connect? Is that
Well,
okay, or does that take
not
away
not
from the?
not really lying, but that is what I like about songwriters and the whole concept of using songwriters because after some time you need to just get out of your space and just play in a bigger playing area. So imagine somebody like Rihanna. Rihanna is on tour and they've locked down like 6 studios and all sorts of people are in there writing. So the album comes and it's just beautiful because you are seeing the POV of too many people, stuff that if you had left her alone to come up with, there's just no way she could have been able to tap into
But
all
but
those
but
things.
wouldn't you argue on some level that that is cheating? Like with hip hop, it might be different for R&B and
Yeah.
singing maybe. But if you're a rapper, no one else can write your lyrics. That's
Exactly.
like a known thing in the industry. You can't be dropping bars that somebody else wrote. But when you're a singer or you're a commercial artist or
Hmm.
whatever, it seems like it's okay. I mean, do you think artists should explore that a lot more? Should rappers, for example, be getting other guys to write bars for them, or does that take away from the authenticity of what hip hop culture is all about?
Man, if you feel like what you are, what you always rap about is starting to feel hackneyed and tired, you know, um, it makes sense to get somebody else, where you guys just bounce off ideas so they can inject a new energy, a new perspective into it. It just makes it beautiful. My hack, my ultimate hack to making a great album is work with a lot of immensely talented people, you know.
That's a whole other subject on its own, in terms of collaborations and the
Yes.
ease with which it's easy to, sort of make,
Yes.
collaborations happen with
Yes.
artists.
Yes.
One could argue that it's easier to make a classic if you get a big artist to feature or a number of big artists to feature on your album. Then there's more interest surrounding that album. There's more chances of people listening to it, more chances of it, becoming a classic. But with collaborations in general, I don't know whether it's a touch and go thing in the sense that I don't know if Nigerians are as open to collaborations as maybe other fields. I know that there was another talk that happened with some girls that were here, and they were also talking about how women in the industry they don't want to partner with each other and collaborate, sort of thing. So to what extent are collaborations necessary, as an ingredient for a successful album? Can a random guy on his own, no features, make a classic album, blowing completely organically? What are your chances of that?
Oh, definitely, because at that level, you do not even have access to a lot of creatives anyway, or a lot of big names. So you're just in your honest, simple space.
You're hungry.
hungry, creating from your innocent point of view, devoid of what the industry is demanding of you or what the sound of the day is. So that honesty shines through a lot of times. Where people just listen to stuff and they know, man, this guy is not even looking at the game. This guy is just
Just on his
in his
own.
space, just doing his thing. But even the collaboration I'm talking about isn't necessarily people featuring on a record. But work with amazing musicians, work with fantastic vocalists, work with fine producers, work with great A&Rs. Just those people who you know or who you respect as really intelligent people, bring them on board. I believe the more great minds you have working on a project, the better it's going to turn out.
In theory, all
Yeah.
this makes a lot of sense. It sounds very rosy and everything, but the realities are, I mean, for independent artists listening once
Yeah.
again, is that a lot of these bigger artists, demand money, for collaborations, and
Mhm.
often they can't afford it,
Mhm.
and I personally, I look for talent,
Mhm.
and I like the idea of you're talented, you heard what I can do, you can't do what I do, let's come together and do something different or do something magical, something epic, but I don't know, to what extent is money a hindrance for creating an album that's successful, a classic album? If you don't have money,
Yeah.
can you make a classic album?
Of course. Of
How?
course.
How do you go about it
Y- I mean,
without becoming a beggar overnight?
you use what you have. So some people, um, a lot of artists are starting to produce now because they can't afford production, and they feel like they have ideas. They have brilliant ideas. So yeah, you could go into that, or you see your guy who is just starting out with the production thing and he's really good at it, and you guys are at this same space where he is hungry, you are hungry, he does not have a lot of clients, he does not have a lot of people bugging him, he really has time, and you have time, and you guys just lock yourself in this space, and you're just walking and just making all sorts of records and failing and getting better and getting better and getting better. So there are ways around this. l- we have to be careful to not put that message out there like, if you don't have money then you cannot move. I'm of the opinion that the music brings the money. So instead of just sitting there waiting for that big budget before you do what you need to do, yo, make the music that you can make, put in all the work that you can put it out there. So
Definitely, I
that's what
completely
I
agree
think.
with you. I personally feel that there needs to be more collaborations in the industry. We need to have more bigger artists lifting,
Mhm.
younger, independent artists
Yeah.
up. I know we have artists like Davido and so on who make these kind of moves, and they're
Mhm.
known for making
Mhm.
these kind of
Mhm.
moves.
Mhm.
But I don't know if we have enough of the people in the position, to do that are actually doing that. So maybe more of that can give us more opportunities for
True.
these classic albums to perhaps
Yeah.
come out.
Yeah. True. And another thing I've noticed is, I think from an A&R's point of view, I think it's better for you to say, now we are making an album, as opposed to saying, well, I've recorded 30 songs, let's just knock 15 off and just put out the
Put
other 15. So I think it's better for us to say, okay, yeah, now I want to make an album, and then there are conversations about those things, like, so what mind space are you at right now? What do you want to achieve with this? What do you want this album to do for people? Because really, too many people are making songs now. Your songs need to be useful. So you need to be very intentional. What do you need people to do with this song? Is this song for love making? Is this song for working out? Is this song for motivation? Is this song to inspire a revolution? Is this song an ode to your mother? Is it a love song? Is it just unapologetically dance music? Is this song to motivate you, inspirational music, aspirational music, Baba God, I beg, and bless us?
But
So
I've listened
you
to all
have
these
to
these
be,
different classifications. Do we have this much variety in Nigerian music, or
we
does it fall under like three categories of
we
your dance music, your
that, exactly, that is why I feel like for the really focused guy, there's a big hole in the Nigerian music space. You know, I was telling my partner some days ago. I was watching TV and this big rapper, people he's big, and I was watching this new song, this new video, and it's still Baba God, bless me. This, it's cool,
Mm.
but this guy has made hits off of that theme, So now I'm there and I'm thinking, shouldn't this be, there has to be more to this.
There's a safe space, and that safe space involves money, women, drugs, the good life, and it's easy to write about that kind of
But
stuff.
even at some point, it starts to become tiring,
Yeah, yeah.
And then when you're a top dog in the game, you are not you're expected to set the tone. You're supposed to be innovative. You're supposed to be bold and say, "Yo, this is the direction I'm going." So, but a lot of these guys get to that big point. And then they stop being daring, and now they're just followers. They're just following every other
Maybe it's
person,
to do with the
as
fact
opposed
that
to.
ultimately all of these artists start off as independent, fully in control of what they're doing. Then they get into a system or structure, be it a label or some management system,
Hmm.
and then they get told what to do. This one won't make sense. It then becomes more about the financials because whoever it is that's managing you is not managing you for free. They're looking at what you're gonna make, and then everything you do then becomes about the bottom line. No longer care about the creativity, which is maybe where you start from a creative perspective. You want to put out good music, new, original stuff, but then you get confronted with the realities of life. You have to make money, you have to eat, you have to live off this music thing. And I think to some degree, that is what maybe hinders or
Yes,
stops the
but
progression.
also in my experience, um, that is why um, it's important for managers to help their artists set up nice businesses and set themselves up for long-term wins. Because once you get to that point where you're desperate and you just want to make a hit, you just want to make a hit, or you're gonna die. Chances are that that hit is not gonna come at that point. So brings me back to the whole single thing. You need to just get to a space where you're chilling, you're doing your thing, you have your fan base, you're putting out your music. You can go on a 1 year hiatus and say, you know what, I want to travel, I want to read books, I want to see movies.
Mm.
I want to take out time and just,
That
as
sounds that
opposed
sounds
to
very nice.
as opposed to
People
just
that are working as doctor and lawyer, they never do all this one we are talking to.
a lot of people. Once you get to that point where you're just desperate, man, that's not the best of you. That's not your best. So you just keep putting out stuff and making videos, putting out stuff and making videos, and it just doesn't work.
And it doesn't come out the way you
It,
want it.
it doesn't, because you're supposed to just be doing this thing from a comfortable space, as opposed to, man, my
But what if that's your
my rent is
reality?
running out.
You don't have any money.
Yeah.
You're capable of making good music. And you don't have any access to some of these facilities or avenues where you can put that music out or even record this music. What do you do in that case? Do you just forget about music as a whole, or you just keep hoping and begging guys? I beg me, I feel recovery, so I beg give me beats. What do you do?
That is what I'm saying. Like, you shouldn't even get to this point. That is especially for somebody who has been successful before.
Okay.
So set yourself up nicely.
See, that's
Have
an
your
that's an
investment.
escape route. What about the ones that have not been successful before? Yes, you've never made it, you
Yeah.
understand, and you are really talented.
Mhm.
Maybe by some kind of good fortune, you manage to record one song, and
Mhm.
this song everybody's saying, this thing is dope and everything, but you don't have any money to take it forward, or you don't have the money in order to make it an album, in order for it to then progress to becoming classic.
Yeah.
What do you do in those kind of circumstances?
You
Do
you
you do you beg for money? Do you look for a sponsor first before you make the music? Do you
l-
record it in a ramshack studio and hope that someone will help you make it better?
um Two Face is a good example for this. If you notice, Two Face doesn't. I think he doesn't really select beats, because the meat of Two Face's music are his words and the things he says. So a lot of times it's after a few years or few months that you're listening again. You're like, man, but this beat is wacko. But you don't notice. You don't notice because he's really killing it. He's
Mm.
really killing it. So when the beat is beautiful, it's a plus. but the core of the music is what he has to say. So it's like, because of that, he doesn't really care whatever you play. He's gonna hop on it.
But he's
So I'm
two-faced.
saying,
He's
just
two-faced.
basically, I'm saying, use what you have.
Use what you
Tap
have.
into your story. Tell your unique story. Do your thing. Start from where you are. The money doesn't bring the music is what brings the money. So stop
Do you,
waiting
do
for
you
that
think
budget.
artists these days are actually making money? I mean, the era has changed.
Yeah.
Back in the day, one could argue that maybe artists were making a lot more because one, there were less artists. You could readily identify these guys are the celebs.
Mhm.
All these celebs are making money. Now, everybody's a celeb. Let's be real. We don't know who has bar. We don't know who does have bar. We shall know.
Mhm.
We know you. You're popular. You know what I mean? So everything has all been skewed. So in this streaming era, what's the recipe?
I think more people are making money, because I mean, a lot of people are not big, but every month they are making bank
So you
because
think
of
artists are making money every month?
at least decent money. It's
So
not.
out
It
of a
doesn't
hundred
have to
artists, how
be.
how many, if
It
you had to put
doesn't
a
have to
figure on
be.
that, how many of them do you think are making money from their
Um,
work?
not so much, but compared to before the streaming era, oh no, come on, it's a
No,
huge
but even
improvement.
even with streams,
It's a
like I
huge
mean, for
improvement.
example, some people
Yeah,
might argue that if you're on YouTube,
yeah,
for example, and you're a Nigerian artist to upload your songs, you don't get paid as much as if you're in the States. They
yes.
say our stream is not as strong, or what's the word that they
We
use?
don't have premium
Our one is our
subscribers.
one is river, it's
Yeah,
not stream.
freemium, free. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
For whatever reason, you understand? For whatever reason, how it's not streaming the way it's to stream.
Yeah,
The water is not flowing, you understand, in the way it's meant to flow.
yeah.
So in that kind of circumstance, what do you do? Do you have to move to Yankee in order to really make capital? Because I don't know, are people really making money from places like YouTube unless they're making an extreme amount of views? They have thousands of
Ye-
subscribers,
Okay.
of which it takes a long amount of time to do that. It takes money in
Yeah,
order to even
yeah,
build your subscriber
yeah.
base.
Man, but we live in an interesting time. Even before money, just having your Instagram page and your Twitter and all this stuff, all you need is to just think and be innovative. Ideas that do not cost money. Just think about how to start your team or your followers. Small events here and there. Something small at Bogobiri, something small at Unilag, a free show here, a free show there. You go live every now and then. You're very engaging with the tweets, your mailing list, your funny, interesting content. You do not need millions to do these things. So in a lot of ways, these things put you in a better place to be able to, make something for
But that
yourself.
sounds like a lot of time investment. Like I'm someone, for example, I'm on social media,
Yeah.
but I don't think I posted maybe 5 times in the last 5 years. You know what I mean? I'm just not social media
You're just
inclined. I
not that
used to
guy.
be
Yeah.
when Facebook was Facebook.
Hmm.
You get, but now with all these new things, I feel like you just have to keep posting every other time, and I don't want to live
That way.
on social
Yeah.
media. So how does an artist, attain that level of success without spending their entire life posting tweets and Instagram and
It is what it is. You are looking for great feedback. You're looking for engagement. You're looking for more fans. You're looking for people to really, I mean,
so
haven't
there's no
been times.
choice.
There's no choice because there are times when you've not even listened to the music. You just hear somebody talk or some funny stuff, and you're like, man, I like this guy, and you go ahead to click on their music. So everything ties in right now, and it's a blessing that we have these things. So you don't necessarily have to wait for MTV Base before you blow. In fact, a lot of those platforms are playing catch up now. So it's just all about what you can do for yourself. Ideas that work, ideas that do not really cost money, simple ideas. Put in the time, engage with your fans, ask them to come see you when they can, ask them to sign up to your mailing list, send out engaging, interesting stuff. I mean,
That sounds like a lot of work.
it is a lot of work. It is a lot of work. Why? Because there are too many artists right now. Too many people
All
want
doing the
what
same
you.
thing.
Oh,
Everybody has a Facebook page. Everyone
no,
has a Twitter.
no, not everybody is this hungry. You
Okay.
know, yeah, not everybody is this hungry.
Some of
So,
them are
man,
hungry. Oh. You've
you
not been
just need to
reading
show that.
reading posts.
You
Please
just
let me
need to.
send 2,000 naira credits. My baby can.
Not that type of hunger.
Okay, okay.
Not
That
that,
was too hungry.
no, not that type of hunger.
Okay.
Man, I mean, Femi, there are at least 40,000 new tracks uploaded onto the DSPs every day. It's crazy. So even your new song is just one
One of the many.
inside.
Yeah.
So more than ever, it's on you to think about new, innovative ways to put yourself out there. Write amazing music, but think about the marketing. And in fact, while you're making the music, be thinking about the marketing. So that is where you think about things like your language and your references, and you know, the relevance of what you're talking about, you know, or the buzzwords or the words you want to put in there, you know. What is hot on Twitter now? What are people going to relate to? What are the hashtags? You know, just you just need to think about the marketing and the presentation while you're making the music, you know, and also content marketing. You need to learn about it. You need to. There is no way because it's too many people who want what you want.
Completely agree, and I think that is, quick plug here. I think that is, one of the questions or answers that Cloud provides. In the sense that we offer all these promotional opportunities for independent artists, for record labels, etc. And the idea is to make them, affordable. You might see a place, like this and think, I don't know how I can ever go there, and I only the video fee reach here, or kind of thing. But it's reachable. If you are someone that's talented, we're open to collaborations, all that kind of stuff. And there needs to be more places like this,
Absolutely.
in the sense that we're actually interested in the actual talent that you have and what we can do to take it forward. Because a lot of places, it's less about that. It's more about how we can milk you and get money off of you, etc. But we're more about content building, sharing that, together,
Sure.
that sort of thing.
Sure.
So if you want to make a classic album, here's, I guess, a place to come. Just quick plug, quick plug, quick plug. So what would be your final advice for an independent artist that's listening to the show,
Yeah.
and wants to make a classic album, wants to be successful, wants to blow? What would be your final words for someone in that situation?
Man, I would say just keep walking and do not raise your head up. You know, do not raise your head up to see if people are cheering you on or if people are clapping. Because man, look at the Rosses of this world and all these people. Bro, you need to put out a lot of music. You need to put out a lot of projects. You need to do so much to get ahead right now. So, man, instead of whining and crying, just realize the amount of work that is ahead of you, but also be thankful for the era that we live in right now. You know, you have all these tools at your disposal that, when properly deployed, can really get you far. So, collaboration, be on the lookout for really immensely talented people. Um, look out for how to get the intelligent people onto your team. Anybody who's good at something, try to be their friend, and also build community. Build community, you know. So I don't know how you're going to do it, but build community. Find a way to start your tribe. You know, the people who say they love you, gather them, meet up with them, ask them to support you, engage with them, tweet at them, laugh with them, go to their birthday parties, you know, just keep putting out stuff.
Essentially, be a socialite.
Well,
Okay,
yes.
yeah, yeah. So it's just to buttress what he's saying. I think he said it all. As far as I'm concerned, if you want to be if you are an independent artist, it's about the work. It's about the effort. It's about collaborations.
Hmm.
It's about working with people and just making sure that you're putting in your best effort, and perhaps maybe even being a socialite might help. So going out to events, making sure that you're seen in different places, interacting with people. Because at the end of the day, if you don't have these bonds with people, the relationship with you is going to be fickle. But compared to if they really like you as a person, they will be interested in how you progress and how you
Be
build, and
very
then
hungry, not like the 2K type of hungry. That type of hunger where you're performing everywhere. You know, I get discouraged when somebody says, "Oh, that's an artist," and I'm like, "Oh, they say that's a rapper," and I'm like, "Oh, rap, and they're like, "Oh, I'm shy, bro. This is your job."
No, but I hate that though too. I mean, if you're a
No,
comedian, yeah, make me laugh.
no, no, no,
Nah,
not, not,
I
not.
hate that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but I feel like it's a certain level of mastery that you have attained,
That at any point in
that at
time,
any point
you're ready to
you're
go.
ready to go.
I like
You
that.
know,
I like
so
that. I like
you
that.
need to be hungry, man. Two people perform, beer parlor perform, concert perform. Anywhere you have an opportunity, anywhere people are gathered, be looking to make believers out of them.
Awesome, awesome. And I think that aptly sort of rounds things up. So you've been listening to All About Clout with Femi Aribisala and Obinna Agwu,
Yep.
not Julius Agwu. And yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. And hopefully someone out there is gonna make the next classic album.